Okay, before we do get into this video, guys, any way you do your build is fine. I'm just making this video for people who are returning to Kyrswynter Spear and people who are new to Kyrswynter Spear. Make sure you guys do subscribe so you don't miss when I post another guide like this one, and like the video so other people may see it. But without further ado, let's get into the Kyrswynter guide. So the Kyrswynter, before we do get into the actual guide, is pretty lengthy to obtain the weapon. I'm going to be showing a clip of me obtaining it in the background if I have it, but if I do not, let me explain. You need 80 frost draw, 80 medium, and you also need to, work your way up from layer 2, floor 1 to layer 2, floor 2. Then you will talk to the Kyr's guard to the right once you walk out of, the safe zone within floor 2, layer 2, and talk to him. You can just spam 1, or you can actually read the dialogue. So after that, you need to defeat Ethron, and while you're running out, you need to go to the right, and then get back, like to the right, then go to the left, forward, and then there will be a tiny crack/crevice that you squeeze through and talk to his brother through that gate. Now make sure you know which crack/crevice you walked into, because if you do get discombobulated and walk into the door, it's a trap room right next to it, so you have to be careful and trace your steps back carefully so you do not wipe. But even if you do wipe with the Kyrswynter, you can still pass it down, so that's pretty good. Now let's actually get into the guide. So Kyrswynter has 2 M2s, one standing M2 and one running M2. The standing M2, you pierce your opponent with your spear after winding it up, and you basically do a frost explosion, pushing them up into the air, making them aerial borne. Now you can go in the air with them if you're within the circle vicinity, but if you're not, it'll just ragdoll them into any direction. The running M2, you basically become unparable. Just unparable, you can only dodge it, I believe, and it ragdolls the opponent. Now these 2 M2s depends on what type of build you have, which you want to be using mainly, but the most M2, or the most that I've seen, is people using the standing M1, like with the spear that hits the person, and then using the running M2. This can be done, but you're gonna need to make sure you do it within quick succession so that you don't mess it up and do the elemental M2. Now there are people who mainly run frost on this, and I can understand the reason why they do that, but there are some rare glass path crystallization builds you can go that will, help you zone your opponent instead of sticking onto them. For me, I think that frost on Kyrswynter is more of an engage type than a zoning type, and I think that glass path crystallization is more of a, keep your distance from your opponent. And with having glass path crystallization, I would recommend you have dread breath as well. Not saying you have to get it, but I'd say it's good to keep your distance in case, someone runs very close to you and, sticks onto you, because most of the builds in Deepwoken nowadays are just stick on to you type builds. Now, talents you want to go, you want to make sure that you definitely have orbital ice. You want to make sure you have frost wisp with this, so you can get the most out of it, most defense from orbital ice, and frost wisp so you can use your ice talents on top of the ice. This weapon does not create ice whatsoever, and it basically is kind of used for mage builds. What I've seen, most people usually do not use its M1s. It's understandable, its M1s are really weak. You want to make sure you probably have 100 into frost draw, and after obtaining the weapon, sorry for not saying it earlier, but after obtaining the weapon, you actually can equip the weapon for 50 medium and 80 frost draw, or no, 75 frost draw. So yeah, the 80/80 is just for the first time. You can do it on each slot. This is a not and one time on that progression, but if you wipe, you can do it again, and so on and so forth. But yeah, there's not much to this weapon. It's mainly more of a mage weapon, sorry to say it, but the way that I see people use it is mainly mage-like. Now, if there is something different or another build that is extremely popular that is not mage-like, please let me know in the comments down below, but from what I've seen, it's mainly mage-like. for this weapon. But yeah, that is the Kyrswynter guide. Not as complicated as one would think, even though the obtainment method is extremely, tedious. Make sure you guys do subscribe if you don't want to miss when I post another guide video like this, or watch other my videos on my channel. Like the video for other people to see it, and comment down below if you have the Kyrswynter. Comment down below Kyrswynter. But most importantly, make sure you guys have a great day, guys, and see you guys within the next video.